Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Katy Loudon is running a pretty lousy campaign. She knows from day one that ever since Margaret Ferrier vacated the seat in Rutherglen and Hamilton West, that it was always going to be a Labour victory. Indeed, the bookies have stopped taking money on it. And so she's just going through the motions. Basically what she's doing is showing that she can run a campaign. And she knows she's going to lose, but she'll run the campaign, get the experience so that next time there's a campaign or they can drop her in somewhere local, she can fight it and hopefully win next time. But on the other hand, it is good experience for her. And of course she gets to meet and campaign with some of the party's big hitters. For example, Stephen Flynn and even Humza Yousaf. But it is, I think, a sign that the party aren't that bothered about winning this seat. Because yesterday in Cambuslang, she went a campaigning and she took with her, well, what can only be described as Mr. Toxic. Someone who you absolutely never want to be associated with, and certainly not a campaign, any kind of association with a campaign, because he is so awful. And of course, we're talking about, the touchy-feely sex pest, Patrick Grady, a man who corrupts everything he touches. I'm very surprised he's even had the balls to get out and show his face in public. But he did. He went campaigning with Katy Loudon, and people are complaining about it for obvious reasons. Why are you associating with such a nasty little man? Anyway, we'll take a look at this, see what's going on, and see why Katy knows that she's got no chance of winning whatsoever. Here goes. So, shamed SNP sex pest MP Patrick Grady campaigns for Katy Loudon in a disgraceful mood. The last person you would want associated is him. Oh God, what are they thinking? Quick, we're behind in the polls. Wheel out the perv. It's like open the box and getting the gimp out, isn't it? The Glasgow North MP was out on the campaign trail in Cambuslang, where he rubbed shoulders with his Westminster leader, Stephen Flynn. But I suspect Stephen Flynn wasn't entirely pleased about it. So, shamed SNP sex pest MP Patrick Grady made a rare public appearance on Wednesday as he hit the campaign trail in Cambuslang in a move described as disgraceful by critics. The Glasgow North representative was suspended from the party for sexually harassing a teenage staffer. So we know exactly what he is. He is the toucher-upper of young boys. And yet nothing seems to stop him. Has he got no shame? The only positive is that, according to the polls, he'll be out at the next election. So it's only got between now and, say, next October. Not 2 months, 14, 15 months away. To continue in the role as MP. After that, he's got to go back in and get a job. With a man with that kind of history, that'll prove, I would suggest, very difficult. Anyway, he was welcomed back into the Nats Westminster group just months later. Now, of course, they would welcome back someone who does this because it's their direction of travel, as we've seen many, many times. They are very pro the touching up of young people, including very, very young people. But he was welcomed back into the Nats Westminster group just months later, with new leader Stephen Flynn claiming he could not stop this. Flynn says he didn't want him back, but the rest of the party did, because of course he's only touching up young people, and they think that's absolutely fine indeed. They actually are pushing for the touching up and more of not just young people, but of very, very young people. But they were all smiles while out canvassing together in South Lanarkshire as they attempted to boost the campaign of local candidate Katy Loudon. Well, having him there is going to have the absolute opposite effect. It is the touch of death, isn't it? The appearance of Mr. Grady was blasted by his victim, who was forced to leave his job with the SNP due to the scandal and being left out in the cold by officials. The young man said he was deeply disheartened about the public rehabilitation of the sex pest. He told the Scottish Sun, "Despite the pain and trauma I experienced as a victim of Patrick Grady's sexual harassment, he continues to enjoy the support and company of influential figures within the SNP. This sends a distressing message about the party's commitment to accountability and the well-being of survivors. It is painful reality to witness. Well, we've seen many, many times, and virtually every time, in fact, that the SNP will always side with the perpetrator and never with the victim. They don't want to be associated with the victims of their own criminality. And so when they get people who commit, sexual offences against young people, it's always the young people's fault. The young people are the one that are driven out. The young people are the ones castigated. How dare they be young and beautiful and tempting to these old SNP perverts? Basically, that's the party line. Anyway, Mr. Flynn was joined by a number of prominent Nat figures while out in Cambuslang on Thursday, including his key ally Brendan O'Hara, Stuart McMillan, someone who's likely to lose his seat as well, and Richard Thompson. The SNP are desperate to hold on to the Rutherglen and Hamilton West seat, which has been left vacant following the ousting of COVID lawbreaker Margaret Ferrier, but it is effectively a lost cause. Indeed, in this picture you've seen just about everyone in the seat who's likely to vote SNP. All the others, of course, have sodded off and they don't want her. Well, the MP was found guilty by Westminster's standards watchdog. This is Patrick Grady. Get the right Patrick, David. This is Patrick Grady, of committing sexual misconduct by touching and stroking his victim's neck, hair and back. This led to a 6-month suspension from the SNP and a 2-day ban from the House of Commons. So what the House of Commons are saying is it's absolutely fine to sexually touch young people. You'll only lose 2 days. Rather than, in fact, it's not acceptable at all and you must now lose your seat as an MP. But hey, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me who thinks that perhaps the authorities need to be a bit more punishing in their punishments, rather than just have a little 2-day holiday and then come back. You'll be fine. You've only been sexually touching a young person. That's fine. What message does that send out? Despite this scandal hanging over him, he still wants to defend his seat at the next general election, although whether his past vetting is not yet known. Opposition critics attacked him and the Nats for being desperate enough to bring him back in such a prominent way. You'd think they'd want to distance themselves from him as far as humanly possible, rather than welcoming him back and saying, "Oh, Patrick, it's fine, we agree, touching up young people is absolutely super in the SNP," because we all know what the P stands for. Tory MSP for Glasgow, Annie Wells, said, "Short of them wheeling out Margaret Ferrier herself, it's hard to think of a more crass choice of person to campaign for the SNP in this by-election. Patrick Grady abused his position of authority and abused what was little more than a fresh child. He is not fit to be an MP and he should not have had the party whip restored. Indeed, he should have been banished out of Parliament entirely. To have him out on the campaign trail is an insult to his young victim, and it highlights the continued failure of the SNP to treat his misconduct seriously. They just don't care. They absolutely don't care. All the time and again, you see them when they do these things, and they always side with the perpetrator." Scottish Labour Deputy Leader Jackie Bailey added, "It is disgraceful to see the scandal hit MP welcomed back with open arms. Once again, the SNP is willing to turn a blind eye to sexual harassment and sleaze when it suits them, like they do time and time again." Anyway, I shall round off there and come up. I think the SNP would happily go campaigning with Gary Glitter, Stuart Hall, Rolf Harris and Jimmy Savile if they thought it would win them a seat. And indeed, I'm surprised they didn't get these 4 fine gentlemen to stand for the party at some point. After all, they do share the party's ideals. But it's just sad that they have to resort to, allowing this sex pest, this pervert, any kind of space or public acknowledgement that they're welcoming him back. He should be the persona non grata, should be a pariah, and yet strangely isn't. Anyway, I shall finish there. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you've seen here on the channel, please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, and don't vote for perverts. Bye.